word innovation is becoming overused and the direction and definition of it is being missed. So how did we get here? Because no one goes into planning for their next 3 to 5 year strategy and saying that we just want to do what everyone else is doing. It came because there was a lack of a culture of innovation in these companies. And a lot of that came from really simple things, was where they cut money from R&D, they wanted to focus on short-term goals, they didn't want to wait forever for something to go to market, over-designing, over-strategizing. As working with a number of members of our executive team are from Big Four consultancies, they love the PowerPoint and they love to strategize and they're amazing at it. But when you add that much runway to something, it becomes that much tougher to course correct and quickly pivot to be able to then drive new innovation and new ideas that you can bring to the table. Because every innovational idea is not going to succeed. Some of them are going to fail. But the failure is actually an amazing opportunity for you to learn and understand. And this is where the fail fast mentality comes from, where a lot of people talk about it. We're going to fail fast. But when it actually comes to failing fast, it's like, oh, no, we can't. We have a deadline. No, we don't want to do this. It's going to hurt this or hurt that. Either you have to live it or you don't. And that's one of the things I see with that. When we talk about examples of innovation, okay, I like to look at these three because in each way, they have very common elements that if you look at them and think about it, you'll go like, wow, like that actually is innovative. Airbnb broke the model on hotels. Uber almost replaced the taxi more or less. And the iPhone, which is my personal best friend, don't tell my wife please, is one of the key things that when you look at them, they're simple. They have a focus. They're original. And this is like, we'll touch on this in a bit, but these are all examples of where someone had the idea of how can we redefine and change the game versus just playing in the game with everyone else. However, innovation does not have to be digital, and it doesn't have to be complex. Literally, that there was an idea for a cup holder that you could clip to your desk. Very simple, very easy to produce. Immense benefit to people, though. The number of these that have been sold online is massive. And the reason why is because someone saw a problem and found an original way to solve it. The toothpaste squeezer, I actually had one of these back in the States. And it, again, simple, to the point, solves a problem, has a purpose. But it doesn't mean that innovation has to be complicated. What it means is that it has to be original, and it has to be creative. And there's just as many times that how many revisions of that toothpaste squeezer did they go through to actually get to that point? 10, 20, who knows? But by pushing the bar and having an idea for it, that is what stokes that innovation circle. So that brings us to the second part, which is, what is innovation then? Because we talked about what it isn't. We talked about what people think it is. And we talked about the problems and challenges that come with that. It's got to be something new. It's got to be something new, it's got to be something original, and it's got to be important. I'll give you an example. I was with my team at the Boeing 777 plant in South Carolina. And we were doing a tour and we saw this gentleman, and what he was doing, he was installing cable on a 777 plane. And in this plane with this guy must have been like in his early 60s probably. He was on his back and he would slide in under the plane body and he would pull cable in one at a time. And then he would have to slide out, get up, walk over to a computer, press 2 buttons, and then go do the next cable. The reason why is because with federal aviation laws is that every single item you do in building a plane has to be logged incrementally. So you put in a screw, you have to log it. You put in another screw, you have to log it. So as you can see, this is probably very tedious work, and this guy did not seem happy having to come out, stand up, lie down, go back in. So we looked at that, and as part of our team, we had 20% of our capacity that was for experimentation and for new ideas, things that weren't on the books. And we ended up building a prototype of a mobile app that he could rest on his chest. And it utilized the camera, and it would identify the cables that were being put in, and it would log these all on the app, so when he would come out, he could do all the cables in one shot and then walk over and log them afterwards. This ended up being one of the best. It made so many people in the factory happy, for one thing. But second off, it actually saved an immense amount of time too, and also was compliant. Now, me, since it was our team that did it, yes, I would say it was innovative because it does meet the criteria. It was new, original, and important. But it wasn't complex. It was something solving a small problem that had a massive impact. And for me, that was the benefit for me was seeing that this gentleman now was not breaking his knees 35 times a day, and we were actually getting the 777s across the factory a lot quicker. However, though, innovation is many other things than just a digital app, a toothpaste squeezer. There's a whole many different elements to it that I want to touch on here. And first one is that innovation sometimes is embracing simplicity. It's easy taking something that, say something complex, and if you can make it simple, that is the way that you want to be able to move forward with something, because if you build something that's overly complex, you over-strategize, you over-feature it, or you try and make it to the very best right at the very beginning, your users are never, if the users can't understand it, they're not going to use it. And even though it may be amazing technology, it may be amazing features, if it's not easy to use, people aren't going to use it. And that's why the simplicity matters in this area. Innovation's about experimentation. This is an area where I see a lot of companies that are looking to experiment, but they want to safely experiment. They want to experiment in the bubble that it's not going to harm anything, or it's not going to be recognized out in the environment. Now, having worked at Hasbro in the gaming industry, esports industry for about 6 years, there is probably no more finicky audience than gamers. Changing one feature on a game can get you blasted on Twitter for like 3 days straight. I've been there. However, looking at this is that when you're experimenting in this area, you need the data driven by these experiments to build up and make these, another buzzword, those data-driven decisions. And you have to get the good data, and you have to understand where that is. You also have to iterate, because if you start with version A, you might not actually get to something that's valuable until version M. Most companies won't go all the way to M, they'll stop at C. And what we need to remember is that having that spirit of experimentation and the ability for people to share their ideas, put things out there without a fear of being looked down upon or something doesn't go right, it's your fault, but instead looking at those as opportunities. Innovation is a culture. I cannot stress this enough. And this is an area where when we're looking towards the future, looking towards 2030 and beyond, one of the key things in the region that I'm seeing evolve for the better is company culture, especially when it comes to working in agile environments, and especially with working with innovation spaces, and understanding that there needs to be the ability for people to have a certain set of qualities, a certain set of characteristics that can build that culture and be able to have that ability to think freely. The other part is that you can't have it both ways, though. You need to be able to say, if we're going to fail, like I mentioned earlier, fail fast and learn, then you have to take that and go all the way with it. Because that's only when you're going to get the